Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. How's Eddie Frederick?
Welcome to Caribbean Perspective. So glad you can join us. The story that takes the lead in today's edition for Thursday, 9th May 2024, and brought to you in association with our friends at Antillean Group. St. Lucia's Prime Minister not happy with the governance structure of the Caribbean Development Bank, the C.D.B, which led to the demise of its most recent president. Details after this important message.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all, perils big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Welcome back. Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Philip J. Pear, has broken his silence on the recent resignation of Dr. Hygienist Jean Leon, the former president of the Caribbean Development Bank. Pear described the situation as very sad, which is similar to the sentiment expressed by Vincentian Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves in a letter to the C.D.B chair regarding the matter. Zane Romulus of the DBS News World reports.
Last month, Dr. Hygienist Jean Leon tendered his resignation as president of the Caribbean Development Bank, the C.D.B. His resignation came just months after he was placed on administrative leave by the regional multilateral institution. Dr. Leon's sudden departure from the C.D.B has raised questions about the circumstances surrounding his leave and subsequent resignation. Last week, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, wrote to the chairman of CDB's Board of Governors, denouncing attempts to impugn the character of Dr. Leon. Like his regional counterpart, St. Lucia's Prime Minister Philip J. Pear expressed concerns about the lack of consultation with the directors or governors of the bank before disciplinary action was taken against the former CDB head.
Sad, very sad. I know you read the letter by the Prime Minister of St. Vincent. They're very sad. Jean Leon is a global economist. His resignation calls into question the things that we import into these islands, lock, stock, and barrel. Right? He went on something called a whistleblower policy. Now, this is to me, it was very vague. But the governance of the bank gave 3 people the authority to send the president home. 3 people. They did not inform the governors when they were doing it. They did it on their own. When the vice chairman of the bank wrote to the chairman of the bank, because the bank has borrowing and non-borrowing members, he asked him to speak to lawyers, American lawyers. So it looked like this thing was well put together to deal with the president.
Prime Minister believes that the bank's procedures will need to be revisited, focusing on the redistribution of powers held by non-borrowing and borrowing members. The Caribbean Development Bank has 19 borrowing member countries with voting rights, holding 55.26% of the voting power. The bank's 9 non-borrowing member countries provide capital and have voting representation in the bank's Board of Governors and Board of Directors, holding 44.74% of the voting power.
The CDB is an institution that I respect. It's a long-standing institution. But in terms of the governance, the power of non-borrowing members, as it relates to borrowing members, something that has to be reconsidered. He who calls the piper, he who plays the tune, right? Those who give the money have the authority in terms of the governance of the bank. This is something that we have to look into. It's something that has caused me personally a lot of grief, because I think Jean Leon is a global economist, Jean Leon has a vision. I have stated my position quite privately, but the President, the Prime Minister of St. Vincent went public. But I've stated my position privately, and I will at some point restate that position.
The C.D.B. has yet to provide a detailed public statement addressing the matter. For the DBS News World, I am Zane Romulus.
CVM's Tricia Gay Kelly reports that Meteorological Services of Jamaica anticipates active hurricane season.
From one extreme to the next, there seems to be no balance. Since the start of the year, Jamaica has witnessed numerous cold fronts and troughs, as well as unbearable heat and drought. But things could get even worse, as the Meteorological Service of Jamaica Met says there's high anticipation for a very active hurricane season this year. The Met Service's Principal Director Evan Thompson says intel from forecasters outside the Caribbean suggests the region could see more than the usual amount of systems.
And there are a few that are already out. Some are saying that we could have as many as 23 tropical storms develop. In fact, there is one forecaster that is suggesting that we could have as many as 33 tropical storms develop. We've never had so many, but there is, because conditions are so fertile, it is felt that we could have more than the norm, and the norm is really just 14 tropical storms.
Usually the agency receives signs of developments on the sea. Thompson says the Met Service will of course advise the country where and when necessary. However, he explains sometimes circumstances do not make way for timely warning.
There are times, as you said, when we could have some of these systems developing close enough to us that we don't have that much time to warn. So if it develops in the Caribbean Sea, we might not have seen much development before, but there is a quick development that takes place in the Caribbean Sea. It could give us just a day, and so we don't have that much time.
The hurricane season lasts for about 6 months, starting on June 1 and ending November 30. Though the season was quite dry in 2023, he explains the season could present itself earlier this year with more activity. Thompson says his team will be monitoring the systems closely.
And there is that possibility again this year, although conditions seem to be a little bit more conducive for the development to move into the Caribbean this year. And so we really just have to be very alert. Anything could happen at any time for the 6 months of the hurricane season. Or even, as you said before, it could happen even before the 1st of June.
Countries including Barbados have already declared their early preparations for the season. Jamaica's plans for this period, however, remain unknown at this time, as the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, says it will address the matter later this week. Tricia Gay Kelly, CVM News.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick,
in association with our friends at
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Cabinet has approved the members of a team recommended by the Ministry of Finance in Trinidad and Tobago, Colm Imbert, to investigate the understatement of revenue for the financial year 2023 and related matters. Karen Cozier-Phillips of TTT News gives us details.
The team appointed to investigate the understatement of revenue for the financial year 2023 will be chaired by retired High Court Judge Justice David Harris and will include Mr. David C. Benjamin, a former audit director at the Auditor General's Department and specialist in information technology.
And we settled on Justice David Harris, who retired just a couple of months ago, very highly respected High Court judge, to be the chairman. I don't think there's any question that this retired judge would not be independent, would not determine the true facts.
Minister of Finance Colm Imbert revealed the terms of reference of the investigation, which include, but are not limited to, the circumstances that led to the understatement of revenue in the public accounts for fiscal year 2023, and the efforts made by the officials at the Ministry of Finance to provide the Auditor General with an explanation, clarification, and further information.
What are the facts in relation to the various allegations and statements made by the Auditor General in her report on the public accounts of Trinidad and Tobago for the financial year 2023, including the addendum and appendices with specific reference to the understatement of revenue in the public accounts for the financial year 2023.
The finance minister chastised the opposition for what he described as scandalous allegations, in addition to publishing extracts of the Auditor General's report, which is yet to be laid in Parliament.
Told that the leader of the opposition made an absurd claim that $386 million has gone missing in the Ministry of Finance. That's absolute rubbish. What I am seeing in terms of what was posted on the screen at that Monday night forum is that it is being alleged that documents were not provided to support payments totaling $386 million in 2023, such as expenses in connection with international financial institutions, fiscal incentive program for farmers, and so on.
The Auditor General had declined to put into her 2023 report on TNT's accounts figures for $2.6 billion. This was reportedly due to problems with a new electronic check clearing system used by the central bank. The investigative team will be requested to report to the Minister of Finance within 2 months. Karen Cozier-Phillip, TTT News.
With just over 1 more week to go before the Top Cops extension expires in Trinidad and Tobago, a former chairman of the Police Service Commission, Ramesh Deosaran, is not confident that the substantive Commission of Police will be appointed before August. However, he's warning the government that with the high rate of crime in Trinidad and Tobago, it would be in their best interest to take legislative and administrative action to rectify the problem as soon as possible. TV6's Renessa Cutting has more.
With the murder toll at 195, former Police Service Commission Chairman Ramesh Deosaran is warning the government that the country is at a tipping point.
Everybody's frightened to even step out in their yard, apart from driving their cars. Everybody's scared in this country, and I don't want to wait until the ministers are attacked or there is some kind of uprising because of the scare that people have. I want to prevent that, and I hope the government will take quick either legislative or administrative action.
Police Commissioner Eliud Christopher's extension, which was approved by Parliament in May last year, comes to an end in just over 1 week's time. This past weekend, the Top Cop visited Powder Magazine in the aftermath of a shooting, which left 4 dead and 8 injured.
Given the police commissioner's heightened visibility, many would say, over the past weekend with the crimes, do you believe that an extension is coming further?
Well, the extension coming from who, the government or the Police Service Commission? Remember, the government appointed the extension, You see, the fact that the government used the public service regulations to extend the present commissioner's term, if another extension is done in that way, I don't know if the public will be very approved of it. If the and I am not sure if the Police Service Commission would consider that now in these circumstances.
But the former PSC chairman is advising against the appointment of a foreign commissioner.
Because you need a commissioner, a new commissioner now, who can build a team spirit. You need a commissioner with courage to inspire. You're not talking about public relations appearances and all the kind of superficial gestures we have been having.
Deosaran is once again calling for a review of the Police Service Commission regulations and its operations.
Maybe in the circumstances and given previous experiences, maybe the Police Service Commission, given the legislature that governs it, I think it is capable of having its recommendations accepted by the government without having to go to Parliament, because the opposition want to have a say. They could still have a say if the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition consult on the appointment with some conditions, or pass it through a joint select committee, if not the whole Parliament. But the whole Parliament display has been non-productive.
Renessa Cutting, TV6 News.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily regional news and more, in association with our friends at Antillian Group.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.